And we're coming to you live from the Built Forward Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are in the free Odyssey app, good Wednesday morning. Did not get off to a great start down there in Atlanta. There have been lots of comparisons to a couple of years ago where this series down in Atlanta in September means if you're going to win the division, obviously in 2022, and means if you're going to make the playoffs this year. And the Mets go down there in game one and lay an egg. It was a low-energy, weird game for them. Luis Severino throwing the ball into right field to get that inning going. Michael Harris just doing everything for the Braves. Reminded me of Brian Jordan back in 2001. So I'm trying to push these memories out. I'm trying not to make these comparisons, but it's just really, really hard to do because all these years down there in Atlanta has been, as everybody has called it, a house of horrors for the Mets. And now, because Major League Baseball has absolutely no foresight, you've got 2 days in Atlanta that look like going to get washed out completely. They haven't yet made an announcement about moving a game up. They haven't yet made an announcement about having a doubleheader. They just have a 7:20 first pitch scheduled for tonight, and there's about 100% chance of rain from 4 p.m. in Atlanta today to like Friday at 6 a.m. So good luck. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine because I'm not sitting in the rain, but I am a little disgusted with the way that the Mets played last night because this was like a Mets typical loss in Atlanta. Just bonehead plays in the field, plays that should have been made in the field that were not made in the field, and that just shows me that there were some nerves. I'm sure that Acuna had some nerves playing shortstop last night in what should have been a double play in the beginning, and it turns out that he fumbles the ball and ends up just one out, and next thing you know, the Atlanta Braves are on the board. And I just, my thing is that, when you are locked in, you play clean baseball, and the Mets didn't play clean baseball until they got up into the batter's box and barely hit the ball. And that was clean baseball from that regard. But that was a really disappointing performance last night, and I know I feel the frustration as to you, and I didn't even realize this as I was talking to Mike Fliegelman, our resident Met expert around here on this radio program. I didn't realize that this was only supposed to be a 2-game set between the Mets and the Atlanta Braves, that this was a makeup game from April's Fleeg, is that right?
Yeah, April 10th.
Yeah, April. So, why wouldn't you put that game on Monday of this week?
Yep.
Knowing that you'd have Thursday open before the Mets had to go to Milwaukee. And I don't know if they obviously sit down with these teams, they talk to them. I don't know if there was something else going on Monday in Atlanta. Who knows? But that would seem to me to be the best way that you protect the series by having a back-end day that you could use if the front-end day that you should have used would have been compromised because of bad weather.
Yeah, and that was the best option. The second best option was getting in 2 games yesterday, playing a day-night doubleheader in perfect weather yesterday. So you at least had those 2 games, and then you figured out the third one. Now you're going to have 2 games that I don't think you're going to be able to play. Now, this is the Weather Channel app, and
That's a good app. You got a good phone. You got a good app, unlike Jerry.
So, all right, let's just go. So, 7:20 first pitch is what they're expecting tonight, right? So, you go to 7 o'clock, 89% chance of rain. 8 o'clock, 100, 88, 85, 98, 98, 98, 98. You don't get a less than 76% chance of rain until in Atlanta past Friday at 5 a.m. That's how bad it is. 100,
well, I mean,
100,
you got a hurricane.
100, 100.
You got a hurricane coming up.
They're not playing these games.
I mean, the hurricane's coming right up past them. So,
it's not like people don't know that. This isn't 15-12.
Well, they knew it because the Florida governor, DeSantis, he issued a emergency declaration like 3 days ago.
I mean, you cannot go anywhere if you're paying attention and not hear about this. This is what there's a million weather people. We've got the best technology we've ever had when it comes to predicting these things and radar and where it's going to go. And obviously, Not every one of these is perfect. We've seen many times where people get worked up over a snowstorm around here that never comes.
But this is a big storm.
This is a humongous storm that every meteorologist in the world has predicted. And then Major League Baseball's like, we're going to play a game 7:20 on Wednesday and 7:20 on Thursday.
You know what this is?
No, you're not.
This is like the Super Bowl for weather people.
It is.
They are all over it. I mean, they got people everywhere, and they are just completely breaking this down. And I guess the memo hadn't gotten to Major League Baseball. That's what it feels like to me.
Well,
maybe they're not watching the Weather Channel.
Yeah, I don't know. There are other circumstances sometimes when we try to make sense of these things and logically come up with a solution. There's information that we don't have, but I at least would have thought that an option of playing, if Monday was not an option, playing 2 yesterday would have been smart.
I got stuck yesterday on Fox Weather Channel.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Now it's not.
You love a natural disaster.
Yeah, but it doesn't lean right or lean left because it's Fox. It's just Fox weather. It's just Fox weather.
Yeah.
It did a hell of a job. A hell of a job. I got to give them props, man.
Yeah, they were on it.
All over this thing. And obviously, maybe somebody could pump that into Major League Baseball's offices.
But too late now.
So now the question is, now if these games are not played, which we're assuming right now they're not going to be played, if they're not going to be played, that means a doubleheader on Monday after the Mets are done with Milwaukee?
Yeah, and Jerry brought up a great point that I had not thought about and had not heard anybody bring up. So Thursday is going to be the nastiest day in Atlanta. How are the Mets getting out of there? You just go and fly up in the middle of a hurricane to go to Milwaukee? Like, how are they even getting out of there? So, I mean, the whole thing's a disaster right now. If this hurricane hits in the way that it is projected to hit, you're not going to play these games, and the Mets will not be able to get to Milwaukee on Friday on time.
They'll get. What
are they going to do? Swim?
No, they may leave Friday morning. They'll leave. They'll get there. I mean, the question is is everybody showing up at the stadium tonight? Is Major League Baseball and the Atlanta Braves going to make their fans show up in the midst of something that is this significant? You know what I mean? Well, all I know is that it's frustrating beyond all get out, simply because of the way the Mets played last night.
Yeah,
they had one of their worst games that they've had in 2 months.
Yeah, and looking at the wind doesn't look like a big deal until later, like at Friday, a little bit later Friday. It's mostly rain on Thursday, so if they can, it's just pure rain,
the outer bands of the hurricane,
I guess. I mean, just rain. So maybe they'll be able to get a plane up in the rain easier than hurricane force winds. But yeah, I mean, and the worst part about it is it's not like, you can hear. I heard Carlos Mendoza. It was the right thing to say. All right, this was bad. Got to flush it. Can't have another game like this. But flush it to when? Monday after the season? Because you're not playing a game today.
Be helpful for Francisco Lindor. I know he was going to pinch hit in the ninth inning last night, but you don't realize how much you miss them until things like last night happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, until your team doesn't hit.
Yeah, well, it's not only hit, but it's also make a play at shortstop. That should have been a routine play. And that's – you got to live with the young kid. You got to live with, everything that he's already brought to the team. But, that's unfortunate last night. And then, of course, it's just so frustrating because we had hopes and felt like – and I still feel this way. I still feel like this is a different team. I want to give this manager an opportunity. I don't want to lump him in with every other Met failure that has gone down there at this point in the season. I want to be able to say that this team has had their moments, but yet they've always bounced back from those moments. But we also talked about their schedule and their last 6 games and who they were playing against and how difficult it was going to be.
Yeah, and this is a team, though, that, the Braves have had massive injuries. The Mets have been better than the Braves over the last couple of months. They shouldn't have to go down there and be afraid of that team. They shouldn't.
I don't think they're afraid of the team. I just think that
we shouldn't be.
They do stupid things like, just on the defensive side of the ball. I know they weren't hitting last night, and I know there were a couple times where they had a couple opportunities with men on base, but it's just like the dopey defensive stuff. Like Brandon Nimmo trying to figure out whether or not to dive for the ball, not dive for the ball, and then the ball gets past him.
The biggest one was Severino. Just hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
Him or Alvarez, whoever. Severino picked it up, but and to have Alvarez pick it up as opposed to you, but just don't throw it. There's no way. I mean, that would have been a miraculous play. There was no reason to do it. It's early in the game.
Well, again, but so this is the mindset that I got to make every play. We're playing the Braves. We all know what's going on here, and that thought process gets the better of the player.
Yeah.
If you are steely-eyed, you expect to win. You're relaxed. You make the plays when the plays are there to be made. It's pretty simple. Like they did that against the Phillies. They should be able to do that against this Braves team, which is hamstrung, as you said. But they do have good pitching. And now they're going to face Chris Sale, who's 18-3 and is most likely going to win the National League Cy Young.
Are they going to face Chris Sale?
Well, they may not, but it may not come until next Monday.
Yeah, right. But then he might pitch in these other games, so then they're not going to see him. I mean, I don't know. I mean, unless this forecast is completely wrong and they get the game in, it's just amazing to me that there's just been they're on the schedule. It says 7:20 tonight and tomorrow.
I want them to get in.
Huh?
The question is, I was asking Fleegs again this morning. Would you rather have them at 5, 4, 5, or 6? Where would you rather have them?
You're talking about seeding, right? Not
Seeding,
like what time they're playing today.
I mean, they're not going to get the 4, so it's either 5 or 6.
Well, didn't we talk about this? Oh, it might have been in the break we talked about this yesterday.
You either want them to go to San Diego, or you want them to go to Milwaukee.
I'd rather them go to Milwaukee.
And then you can actually pay them back for the beginning of the season.
Yeah, you can look at it that way.
When they got swept.
Right? You could look at it that way for sure. How about get in? Let's not get picky about the seed. Let's get in.
Right now, they're in. I mean, the Diamondbacks got hammered.
Yeah, right now, the season's not over.
I know that, but what I'm saying, it's only one game. They still have a one-game lead on the Braves, and the Diamondbacks got smoked last night.
Yep.
So, as bad as the loss was and as bad as it looked, the Mets are still in the second wild card spot.
They are. But they have not clinched.
They're going to. My belief is that they're either the second or third wild card, which means they're either fifth or sixth in the seeding.
Right. Yep.
Would you rather go to San Diego, do a 4-5 matchup, or would you rather go to Milwaukee with a 3-6 matchup?
Right. I said Milwaukee, and I also said that it's a little early at this point to be picky about where you're going. I mean, they played like hell last night. You don't know what's going to happen these next 2 days, and they got a clinch.
You know what's amazing is that the Atlanta Braves have been playing like crap. They haven't been playing great. They've been very spotty. The Baltimore Orioles have been very spotty. But the Baltimore Orioles just won the season series from the Yankees.
Yeah, so they're celebrating. It's so weird. So the Orioles have not been good for a while now.
Yes, until they play the Yankees.
Right, so the Yankees lose last night in the game that they probably shouldn't have lost. So they lose last night, so they don't clinch the division, but the Orioles end up clinching a playoff spot. So then here are the Orioles celebrating at Yankee Stadium, essentially losing the division to the Yankees, but they're getting in the postseason. It's weird, right? Isn't that weird?
It's kind of weird, yeah.
I mean, it's. I understand that they're going to celebrate when they clinch a playoff berth, and that's what every team does, but just the circumstances of this were very odd.
Well, I mean, it was odd because, Gleyber Torres has 3 hits, but yet runs himself right out of an inning.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what it is about base running with him. There's something about being on the bases. I mean, I don't want to kill the guy because when we all got on his ass for loafing out of the box and then ultimately getting thrown out at home plate because he wasn't on second base in that one game that was I feel like it was like 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Yep.
That was the game that I was screaming at Michael Kay. And he's played a lot better. He's hustled. He's hitting. I don't want to kill the guy, but my God, what is it with him in base running?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this was a lack of focus thing. I think this was an overly aggressive thing. I think he just got caught up being overly aggressive, and then just got stuck in between, and that was that. And it was terrible. I mean, it was not much you can say. And it's frustrating because he's got a history of it. But I don't think this was him, having a brain fart. I just think he was just too aggressive, and he got caught. So it sucks because that essentially, you could point to that saying that might have cost him a game.
I had 3 hits in the game, and I'm not saying he's not hustling. He is hustling. He's been hustling since he got chewed out by everybody for the 5th time.
Yeah, but that, as we've said many times before, we're getting pats on the back for actually trying now. I mean, it's good. You're actually running balls out. I mean, what do you want, a cookie? It's just I don't understand. So he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. It's not like he's going above and beyond. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
I know he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. That's why I get you get frustrated with it. Yes, but if he were 0 for 5 and somehow maybe got hit by a pitch and then ran himself into a rundown like this, I'd really be ticked.
Sure,
but and I think Aaron Boone's in a really weird spot because I think Torres has been good since that gaffe, 6 weeks ago, and he's been under the radar and he's been hitting again. I just don't want to. It's just frustrating. I think I was reading somewhere there is a statistic that he has been thrown out, I think, like 19 times on the base paths over the last 2 years or whatever.
You could have told me that number was 66. I would have believed it.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's the most in Major League Baseball. It's in one of the articles this morning.
Yeah. So here we are. Not a great night for New York baseball, but we're hoping that there will be celebrations coming up soon. This weather situation in Atlanta is going to make for a lot of weirdness at the end of this season. At least that's what I believe, unless this forecast is wrong and they somehow can play a game today and then get in a game Thursday, but it sure doesn't look like it. And the Yankees still waiting to clinch the AL East. We'll get Jerry Recco in here with his first update of the morning. Don't forget, Wednesdays at 8 a.m., which is today, Phil Simms will be joining us to talk some football with us.
What do I tell you about the text he sent me last night?
Really?
Yeah.
Excited to hear about that.
I'll tell you on the other side of the break when Jerry comes in here because you're all going to want to hear it.
Perfect.